Growing up, I watched tons of anime thanks to my older brothers. Anything on Toonami or whatever they had on VHS tapes, you can guarantee I was sitting there watching with my eyes glued to my fucking screen with the static in front of it. You know what I'm talking about? Where like you could touch the screen and you'd feel the fucking static in front of it like it was an actual physical object. Bro, peak experience. I swear to God, I remember getting something in my eye and then I needed glasses for the rest of my life after that. But over the years, I realized that anime just isn't for me. I don't know why. I don't know how my attention span dropped to the point it did, or even if it did drop, because I can still enjoy the manga really well, which kind of segues into my actual main point, is that I think anime ruins the manga. To elaborate, I would just like to say that this isn't true for everything. I think the Jujutsu Kaisen anime does the manga justice. I think it's better than the manga by a decent margin. If I was recommending Jujutsu Kaisen to somebody, I would recommend the anime like 10 times out of 10 immediately, and then I would tell them to catch up with the manga, read whatever, you know. I think for 95 to 98% of all anime that I've watched and manga that I've read, the anime has kind of just ruined it. This isn't to say the anime was bad, I just feel like it just did multiple things wrong. First things first, I know everybody's gonna be thinking about this, so I might as well just get it off the table. The filler. I think the filler in anime disrupts the pacing of the story constantly because it's actively going against the original pacing that the mangaka wanted to do, and it leads to months upon months of boring ass content, a majority of the times. One anime that I think has good filler is One Piece, when it's not like elongating the scenes constantly and kind of ruining everything. The actual filler arcs are really good. Good job, One Piece. But for the most part, this is a problem. And I know everybody already knows why filler exists, but I'm going to explain it anyways, just in case you don't know. Filler exists when the manga and the anime are too close together. So what they do sometimes is add a whole new arc where it's completely anime only. The original creator did not make this arc. It isn't in the manga. They're simply making it so that the manga can get further ahead so that they can cover the manga at a decent pace without covering one chapter per 5 episodes. Or they'll do the Dragon Ball and One Piece thing where they just elongate the scenes. So like the Frieza fight in Dragon Ball is a prime example. I forgot how many episodes it is. I'll put it on the screen or whatever, but that shit was long. It was good though. As a kid, I enjoyed it. I didn't notice it. I was a dumb, stupid, poopy, butt fart kid. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Examples with just a shit ton of filler are Bleach and Naruto. I think they're both pushing 50% of the entire anime is just filler, which is wild, like crazy. But I just feel like this kind of ruins the experience. I mean, the author's original intent was to have these arcs go at a steady pace from one arc to one arc almost seamlessly most of the time, like in Dragon Ball. But in the anime, that isn't always the case because of these extra arcs or things that they add on that kind of ruin it. Also, like, to lead into the next point, they'll alter the plot. Now, this isn't all the time, but the one example I do have is of Dragon Ball, where before they mentioned Kami and how the Dragon Balls were made, there's a whole filler arc dedicated to talking about the origins of the Dragon Balls, but like they didn't know the origins of the Dragon Balls, so they were just spreading misinformation. I don't know what that was about. That was kind of stupid. I think they just assumed Toriyama would never talk about it, which like I kind of would too, because he kind of just made shit up famously. And good for him, bro. He made peak. Rest in peace. I love Toriyama. I cried. But this is just a small thing for the most part. You can kind of just ignore this. Other things that have been changed though are things like Tokyo Ghoul, probably the most famous one. I haven't really watched it, but I know it's been changed drastically. Here's a list of changes based on a Reddit thread I read. Now the whole Dragon Ball thing actually ties into 2 other categories, that being filler, obviously, and the author's original intent, or like even just a closer connection to said author. Anime often misunderstands what the original mangaka had in mind, and people will tend to view works of fiction in their own way, seeing characters and stories differently than the author, and that's okay. We can all interpret things how we want. The main problem comes with attempting to translate the same piece of fiction into a whole different medium. If you, for example, misinterpreted a character as a glorified hero whose main goal is to protect and save people, rather than the selfish, fight-enjoying, naive character who does care to save people, but mostly fights for his own fulfillment and growth, problems arise. And that's just one example. There's been several times when characters' motives are completely different than the manga, or the story is just a different vibe. Like for example, for me, one that really fits this is Chainsaw Man. The manga felt all over the place. It was sometimes really calm, and then bam, some crazy shit would happen for like several chapters, and you'd be super locked in. You'd be like, whoa, this is awesome. The anime just felt boring. I don't know if they did work closely with the mangaka. Maybe that's just what he genuinely had in mind and I misinterpreted it, but they just showed a lot of scenes of people just chilling and doing nothing. And that's fine. I understand the appeal. People want to see these characters in normal environments and stuff. And that's cool to have every now and then, but they did it a lot. And it just got to a point where the anime just got boring. But I could tell it was good. Like, it was a good story and the characters were good. So when I read the manga, even with its shitty fucking artwork, I really enjoyed it. And I got a closer idea of how I felt the mangaka really wanted to convey his story, if that makes sense. That's another thing. I think the pacing of anime is also just really bad. Now, in Chainsaw Man is not as egregious because it's seasonal and they genuinely do pace things pretty well for the most part. There's just certain things that I don't like that they implemented. But like, this is easily the worst problem with anime, especially for me. I brought this up in my other video that's right there, the one about anime not being all that great. But like, holy shit, do shows like One Piece or the original Dragon Ball Z just drag everything out like crazy. If I had to sit and watch Luffy run to Doflamingo for another episode during Dressrosa, I would have actually chopped my head off and spun it on my finger like a fucking basketball. And this is consistent in long-running shows like One Piece that don't ever really take breaks. And these pacing issues lead to bad animation quality. Because to get started, there are way too many shows I could mention for like bad animation quality, but I think this problem mostly stems from rushed animators or like shitty work environments, right? Things like long work hours, low wages. But I think the main thing that is clearly in the studio's hands is when they outsource to different places between episodes. A good example of this is, again, Dragon Ball Z. In episode 178 of the original run of Dragon Ball Z, Goku fights against Cell. This episode was animated by Studio Last House, who were either 1, very rushed, or 2, not very adept at animating Dragon Ball Z, leading to the scenes that you've been seeing on the screen since I started talking about this, right? I'm gonna go with the latter because their later works are also not that good. The very next episode, 179, was animated by Studio Cockpit, a brilliant animation studio that also worked on several other episodes, but this one being my personal favorite. You could just tell by the background footage that they really knew what they were doing and, while probably rushed with awful working conditions, still cooked. This is just one example of the inconsistency in Dragon Ball Z, but it's like in a ton of different anime. It's in One Piece, it's in Naruto, it's in like Gurren Lagann. Gurren Lagann is a big one. Hold on, bro. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me that this is supposed to be good, bro. I don't even, you know what's crazy? I'm doing the thing where I'm like, look at this, look at this. Nothing's on the screen, but I'm imagining the fucking Gurren Lagann episode in my head, and holy shit, bro. Oh my god. And then this all goes into a sister point, I guess, and that's the art of the manga is usually like way better than the anime. I don't know if this is fair, mostly considering that anime has to be moving images while manga is just panels that are still images. Not to discredit the mangaka for what they do, because it's phenomenal, and drawing still frames like this consistently well weekly for several years is nothing to laugh at or even try to put down. Like, look at this, bro. It's just that I've always seen points where the manga just drastically outdoes the anime. Like, look at My Hero. My Hero is a prime example. What the fuck happened? And look at the fucking censorship. Anime has censorship problems all the time. Sometimes it's not that serious, like a bit of blood being removed or whatever, but other times, like in My Hero, they'll lower the quality of the entire scene by having it be less gruesome. Or this fucking sky! Why is it still blue? Ooh, it's daytime, it has to be realistic. First of all, fuck you. It doesn't have to be realistic. JoJo had fucking purple skies and green skies and blue skies in random episodes. Fucking Dragon Ball Z had the fucking red sky on Namek. You can't tell me. No. I don't want to hear this fucking copium bullshit. You can't tell me, oh, it's just because that's how it always was. If everyone's complaining about it, then obviously either 1, the mangaka did not intend for it to be like that, but we all took it like that, or 2, the animation studio just doesn't know what the fuck a sky looks like. Anyways, I don't know, I've never been one that particularly cares about this kind of shit, but I'll put a comparison on screen to show you what I mean in a different anime. That being said, I know anime has more restrictions based on Japanese broadcasting stations, like what they allow and stuff, and also just the time it airs. Morning shows tend to be more carefully censored because it's when more kids are watching, but the later night shows don't really have that same problem, which is why whenever like a show like My Hero is coming out for this, people will like pray that it's coming out at night, because they know if it's coming out at night, then they'll have less restrictions restrictions. But overall, I've yapped enough. I think you get the point. I could go on and on for hours, but first of all, Yanadi editing doesn't get paid enough for that. And also, I think I want to have a better understanding of everything rather than just thinking of all this off the top of my head. This is just a yap session, okay? The original source material is probably always going to be the better way to ingest media. And in this case, I think the manga completely outshines anime in most regards. One of the points I can give anime is that seeing it animated is usually always going to feel more exciting and dramatic rather than reading the panels. I mean, that's often why I'll read the manga, see a cool fight scene, then search up the fight scene in the anime to see if they captured it in a cool way. I did this shit for Call of the Night. I read Call of the Night. That shit is peak. I recommend that shit. Top 5. I'm doing this shit for One Piece currently. The Luffy versus Lucci fight is insane, bro. And I'll also do it for like smaller, like down-to-earth anime. I do this shit for a lot of anime. I mean, just a bunch. I could keep going on and on, but like at the end of the day, I think what's more important is that manga better. That's it for this video. Love you. Bye.